Welcome back everyone to another episode of The Road Chose Me. My name's Dan and today we are finally exploring the road to nowhere in Tasmania. I have to say it's been a long time coming, and what do you think? Have we saved the best till last in Tasmania? I think we just might have. So here we go, let's check it out. The road to nowhere on the west coast of Tasmania. So check it out, we've just arrived at the Pieman River. There's a little town here called Carina, and this is exciting. There's a little ferry here. This is the only cable ferry operating in all of Tasmania. So a tiny little ferry. I've always thought when you're getting on a ferry and it's really dinky and small, it means you're on the right kind of road and you're exploring the right kind of place. So I remember a good one like this in Zambia. There's a really good one to cross at Ross River on the North Canal in the Yukon. You know, these ferries that look like they've been around since like the 40s, that's when you know you're in the right spot. So here we go, let's cross the Pieman River on the tiny Carina Ferry. Nah, it's all right. G'day, mate. Good, how are you? Another day in paradise for you. So this is a rad little ferry. It actually reminds me a little of crossing the DRC as well. That ferry was a bit bigger than this and a bit noisier, but same concept where like the Jeep doesn't fit by a whole lot. And the operator there just said there's been a ferry in this spot for 100 years. And it's too hard to build a bridge. There isn't enough like solid structure underneath. So this ferry will be here for the foreseeable future. Pretty good fun. All right, so as you've seen, we are on the road to nowhere, the Western Wilderness Road, and there really is nothing out here, which I love, and it's kind of reminding me a bit of the Yukon, maybe the Dempster Highway up in the Arctic and stuff like that. And so we just found this spot. We're just, well, there's the road behind me, you can see, so we're only like 30 yards off the road. We've been here an hour and one car has gone past. And then so this is our spot that we've found. And the weather's kind of coming through in waves. When we got here, it was raining, like drizzling, but it's kind of blown away now. It's over in that direction. But anyway, we decided to set up the awning because we're gonna stay here today. It's only early in the day, but we figure sunset and sunrise here should be stunning if we get a bit of a weather window. So we've just set the awning up and people have been asking how I do this. What I've been doing lately is pegging out every single pole, and I've got these ropes really tight to keep it all down so the wind can't get under it. And I also peg out the midpoint of each section. That makes this the lowest point, so all the water runs to here and it runs off from there. So I've done that all the way around the whole awning to really make it stable, because it is, well, not this very minute, but it is really windy here in this spot. And then the other thing you can see that we've got going on here is we've put up one of the wall segments, and we're still kind of experimenting with exactly how we do that and what works well for us based on our setup. And you can see kind of the stove and the back of the kitchen get a bit close to the wall. So what I do is I put it on an angle like this, and there's actually a gap at the bottom. And we're just going to wait and see what the weather does and figure out if we put up another wall segment, or, you know, whether we put it here where I'm standing or whether we put it up at the front. It'll probably depend if it's raining tonight and if we decide we want to have the swag kind of in under the awning and all of that, or if we're okay and kind of the weather has cleared. But these are the kind of places that I love to camp at. This makes me so happy. We've got a hot drink on the go. We're just talking about making some soup for lunch, and then maybe we'll cook something elaborate for dinner as well, because we have time now. We're going to read our books, we're going to relax. And if this is the kind of place you love camping, if you want to get to all the places that I'm going to around Australia and around the world, I'm putting my GPS track logs and the GPS coordinates of every single campsite for the whole trip. They're all available to my supporters on Patreon. So there's a link down in the description. You can head over to Patreon and you can see what's involved in that. But if you support me, you get access to all of that. And this could be you camping right here in this stunning wilderness. So that's what we're going to do for the rest of the day. Looks pretty nice to me. And now it's time for Aussie Food with Dan. It's time I started showing you all some good quality Australian food. Haha. Today, let's have fish and chips for lunch. I'll talk you through why this is a bit different than what you might have had elsewhere in the world. So for starters, basically every town in Australia is going to have a fish and chip shop, probably multiple shops. And no doubt about it, this is like deep fried, low quality food, but of course it's utterly delicious. And so when you get fish and chips in Australia, it just comes wrapped in paper like this. This is really common. And the best way to eat fish and chips is to go to the beach, sit on the grass and get the whole view. The beach is actually only just there behind that building, but it is horrendously windy. So instead we're at this picnic table just behind the beach. And so what I got today is I got one piece of fish and some chips. And you'll say, yeah, that's fish and chips, Dan. Well, it turns out in Australia, fish and chips involves a lot more than just fish and chips. Today, that's all I got, so we can go over the basics. In the future, I'll tell you a lot more and show you some of the other things that you can get, and it gets a lot more interesting instead of just fish and chips. So here it is. This is really, I'm gonna say, classic Australian fish and chips. First thing you're gonna notice, the chips are really big. So that's about as big as my thumb. So these are not French fries. If you've had French fries like McDonald's, this is totally, utterly different, not even close to the same thing. So the chips, because they're so big, the potato is really quite soft on the inside and really fluffy. And the outside is not crunchy like McDonald's fish and chips. It's a little bit crunchy, but it isn't nearly as crunchy. So you can see I can kind of squish it and it doesn't crumble. The tiny little pieces, that's more like a McDonald's one that's actually crunchy. These are quite soft and quite gooey, totally different flavor. I think delicious. Next thing you're gonna notice, this is the fish. Of course it's been deep fried, and instead of one big piece today, they've given me two little ones, same. This will be quite fresh because I'm on the ocean. And little known fact, this fish is actually flake, looks delicious, and flake is a shark. So in Australia, when we eat fish and chips, 99% of the time, it's actually shark that you're eating, which maybe is a bad idea because when I go surfing, maybe then the sharks will be angry at me. A friend of mine refuses to eat this. He says he has a deal. If he doesn't eat any sharks, then they won't eat him. Working well for him so far. And then the final ingredient to fish and chips, which is really essential, is tomato sauce. And you're gonna say, that's called ketchup, Dan? And I'm gonna say, no, it's not called ketchup, it's called tomato sauce. Major difference, this doesn't have any vinegar in it. So this is mostly just tomato. So 78% tomato paste, then sugar, which by the way is not high fructose corn syrup, it's actually sugar, then salt, then food acid, then natural flavor. So it does have quite a different flavor than ketchup. It is more tomatoey And in my opinion, it tastes more like food and less like confectionery. I always thought ketchup kind of is very sugary and very sweet. Part of that will be the vinegar, part of that is the high fructose corn syrup. But anyway, fish and chips, we can imagine a beautiful beach, we can imagine green grass. This is what it looks like in Australia. This is the classic, the traditional. One of my favorite things to eat, although it's terribly bad for me. When I first got here, I tried to limit myself to once a week, which I probably overdosed, and now it's more like once a month, which, given that it's all deep fried, that's probably more than I should be eating anyway. So for today, you've seen the fish, you've seen the chips. Next time, let's get exotic and I'll order other things off the menu and I'll talk you through what else you get. Although it's called fish and chips, lots of people don't even get fish. They get everything else that's possible. But until then, lunchtime. Bon appetit.